Hello everyone. I am coming here to talk about something I don't normally talk about on this channel, but a genre of music I don't normally talk about on this channel, I should say. And I wasn't at all planning to make this until I watched the music video, and I was just suddenly like, it's so inspired to talk about this phenomenon that is a huge, huge, huge deal in pop culture because of this rapper slash pop star, Lil Nas X. We all know him from Old Town Road. I actually avoided listening to that song voluntarily throughout 2019. It was just not something that I really wanted to listen to. I've got to be real with you. You know how I am with pop music. It just sometimes just I get cringed out. But with that being said, the character and the persona of Lil Nas X became someone that I definitely wanted to bookmark and, for future reference, dive more into because, of course, persona and his creativity was always evident in the music videos that he had made in the past. Now, keep in mind, I have not watched many of them. I'm not, like I said, very familiar with his discography. I know he only has an EP out so far. For me, I often tend to, with artists like this, like when they put out a full-length album, that's when I like fully pay attention to them. So I'm really excited for a full-length album this year because, that'll make him like a real staple for me in terms of checking out his music. I don't know how much music we've gotten from him since then. I guess he has been releasing stuff sporadically here and there, always with incredible visuals. So the budget was always, always there, let's just say, for what he wanted to bring to the screen along with his music. This video is going to be a lot more about the visuals than it is going to be about the music because as much as I do like the song, I have so much more to say about the visuals. I think most people would feel the same way. And so Lil Nas X, yes, I'm talking about his newest debut single. I'm calling it his debut single because it's his debut single to me. And I feel like in some ways it's sort of like his first, he's not featuring anyone, he's not featured with anyone. And it's like for his debut first album, it feels a bit more like his debut single, even though technically he's released songs in the past. Montero, Call Me By Your Name. Montero Hill is Lil Nas X's real name, so that's where that comes from. And the Call Me By Your Name reference, if you have not seen the 2017 Timothy Chalamet Armie Hammer movie, or if not familiar with the book that it is based on, that is where that title is coming from. And of course, it is a gay love story that I have seen. I did enjoy the movie. It's quite long, but I did enjoy it. And so I like the allusion and the reference that he is using for that. Also by the fact that he's using his government name, introducing the world to us in that way after being introduced as Lil Nas X. Even though he's still keeping that as a stage name. I like that he's adding that layer of authenticity, which is, only adding to the depths of authenticity that is being displayed in the visuals for this song, as well as with the lyrics, but more importantly with the visuals. From the moment he released the single cover a couple weeks ago, I was instantly intrigued, and I was like, I definitely can't wait to check this out. There's immediately an allusion to classical Greco-Roman art. There's an allusion to, the Renaissance paintings, biblical imagery, but with a homosexual twist, which is the most interesting sort of way to play with, I think, that kind of concept and imagery in the modern era. I think it's the best way of subverting, these tropes and imagery to create some sort of response with people, whether it's, a positive or negative one. And with this video, you can tell that he is definitely not afraid to push buttons with people who might be of a more conservative or heavily Christian faith background. And that's the brilliance of the music video. I think, it's 2021 and we need more artists pushing the envelope like this. Because we've had artists in the past do it. A lot of female artists, Madonna, Lady Gaga, they've been blacklisted by the Vatican for scandalous religious imagery in their music videos. We haven't seen a whole lot of that since. I think Lady Gaga was the last artist to really kind of get a response from the religious institution with, I think, her Judas music video. So 10 years later, it's nice to see someone returning with that sort of playful shock and awe imagery, high art imagery. And then, of course, the biggest thing about this is the absolute battle axe to heteronormative masculine gender roles that Lil Nas X completely strips away for this video. So, in my understanding of Lil Nas X, I didn't immediately know that he was gay. I didn't quite, when Old Town Road was really big, I think I remember people talking about it, but I don't remember it being like, oh my gosh, when you think of like the big gay artists in mainstream media today, it wasn't his name jumping out to me. And then I think he started to become a little bit after Old Town Road was huge, a little bit more authentic and like saying, yes, I am gay, and like wanting to express that part of himself a little bit more. Because make no mistake, from what I have seen, Lil Nas X has a very straight passing demeanor and image to him, at least up till this point. And I have seen a lot of people remark, particularly straight men remark in a problematic way that, Lil Nas X, oh yeah, he's gay, but he's not like, but he doesn't act gay. He doesn't act really feminine. So like, it's totally cool. I like guys who are like that. Because it's not like a big thing, and they aren't showy about it, and they're just dudes. Now, I mean, this is a whole this conversation that this video is going to be about, and I don't want this video to be eons long because I could sit down and I could open up a whole can of worms about gender roles in society, particularly when it comes to masculinity and sexuality and all of that. And I will be touching on a lot of these things because I do need to talk about all of this. This is why I wanted to sit down and film this video, because there's just a million and one things I feel like I need to say about why Lil Nas X's representation, not just for the fact that it's homosexual representation, but for Lil Nas X's specific masculine identity, the coding that he has in people's minds, particularly hetero people's minds, particularly hetero men's minds, particularly hetero black men's minds. It is extremely important that he is subverting gender roles in this instance. Not to say it's not important elsewhere, but this in particular is something that I don't personally feel like I have seen done like ever in mainstream pop music or in pop anything. Lil Nas X is straight passing. Now, he's not in this video, but if you, were to watch interviews with him, I mean, he has a deeper voice. He has a very masculine physique. He clearly works out in a way that like is not so common for the LGBT, the gay men who come up in the pop spotlight. You've got your Troye Sivans, you've got your Adam Lamberts, your Elton Johns, your Sam Smiths. They are all wonderful beacons of representation for gay men and for LGBT in the limelight. Elton being one of the premier primary examples of that. But the one thing they all kind of have in common is that they're not really straight passing. There are varying levels of this. But their feminine nature and identity is something that's a lot harder to conceal for them. Growing up, it would have been a lot harder for them to fit in because of their personal, natural proclivities for the way they like to dress, the way they like to talk, the way that they express and move themselves throughout the world, their interests, what they wanted to participate in sort of clubs and groups of people and people they hung out with. Now, again, preface this by saying I do not know that much about Montero Hill, Lil Nas X. I do know based off of some of his social media posts that, he's felt closeted and, like he's been hiding parts of himself since he was a teenager, and that like any gay man, that there's just all of these confusing cages of identity that he's felt trapped within that he is definitely ready to break free from. So that's not to say that I'm not trying to allude that Lil Nas X had it easy as a kid. I don't know his story, and I'd be very interested to dive down that rabbit hole more personally and just talk and read about it. But, I'm going off of somewhat more of the general public's reaction than I am about his personal experience, because like I said, I'm not him. I don't know him at all. So, there's so many layers to this because he is, and let's not get this twisted, let's not forget the big, big important piece of this whole puzzle is that he is a black man. Because that creates the prism of intersectionality is just tenfold more complex because of the fact that, homosexuality and race, the way they intertwine when it comes to people of color, particularly black people, it is and has historically been a extremely difficult identity to present to the mainstream world. For gay men in particular, but for, people of all of the spectrum of LGBT, being Black, especially in America, but also all over the world. And so being a Black man and being openly gay, but also being masculine, is a unique combination that we do see a little bit of now these days in sports. It's something that I think sports gay representation is starting to really, I always felt like it's great when we have our Kurt Hummels and we have our Troye Sivans. Like we're always going to have our very feminine pop stars who are like very just, they're not exactly that masculine in terms of their presentation. Let's just put it that way. There was no choice for them. Like it was just, that was who they were, and they had to present that way at some point. They weren't going to pass as straight enough to, completely negate any sort of criticism or discrimination. There was just never a choice for them. I feel, for example, personally, like I straddle a bit of a weird, I'm very feminine and I sound very feminine, so I am not straight passing when I open my voice. It is like all bets are off. But the way I tend to dress and the way I do tend to keep up somewhat more of a masculine appearance. It's something I've not been like really conscious of a lot, but I definitely think about more and more these days. And I feel maybe it's just because of a habit, high school, but I feel more at home sometimes when I'm presented in a more masculine way, yet I definitely don't want to be like the most ultra masculine kind of form of presentation. But I wouldn't necessarily say that in some ways I am overtly feminine, but I'm not also straight passing. And that has a lot to do with my voice, but also my interests. And so feeling a little bit more like I straddle that gender binary a little bit more than some gay men might, I feel I'm very, very interested in seeing men who are in very masculine spaces come out as gay. It's in fact sort of like the most exciting form of representation for me. Not to say, like I said, having the Broadway stars and having, the queer, queens and icons that we have in the drag community, like that is all really exciting and important, but it's not as novel these days, thankfully, because we're seeing so much more representation just in general. It is not as novel as someone on a football team coming out as being gay and open about it, or someone who is coding very heavily masculine, who's hung out with a lot of dudes, who has tried to enter into hip hop, which is a extremely homophobic, historically homophobic, male dominated industry. You are really wading into the water of the sharks, because what Lil Nas X has, entered into, and he's starting up these kind of interesting conversations around hip hop, and he sort of claims that hip hop hasn't really embraced him from the beginning. But there are, of course, predictably going to be a ton of straight Black men in hip hop who are going to have things to say about. I don't want to broadcast their viewpoint. I'm just saying you can imagine, and I'm sure he is anticipating what some of these very straight Black men who may be closeted homophobes, a lot of them are, let's be real, a lot of them are, and not all, a lot of them, not even, maybe only 50%, but like a good amount, more than you'd probably expect. And like I said, they can be homophobic without necessarily being aware that they're homophobic. It's exposing a lot of that. And I love that he is doing it, but goodness gracious, it takes balls, because it is something that in the past could have easily gotten him blacklisted from that community. He would have been embraced by the LGBT community. But, amongst his own, raised culture and community, which is Black men and hip hop culture, he could definitely find himself feeling more ostracized. I don't believe that is going to happen for him, at least not in a huge way, because we've already had a lot of straight male rappers come out and congratulate him for it. And that's really exciting. It's good to see that he is getting that sort of affirmation from straight Black men. That's like kind of the most important affirmation that he could receive right now. I mean, not to mention, of course, the affirmations from everyone else is great, especially from the gay community, but that was pretty much a given that we were going to come and accept him with open arms. So what he is doing, like I said, for gay Black men is so instrumental in the takedown of the patriarchy, in white supremacy, in masculine supremacy, in the gender binary, the discourse that we talk about it in this country. the deeply rooted cultural homophobia that runs prevalently masculine hip hop culture, not to mention just masculine society at large, also feminine society, but it's more so an issue with masculine society. And so we are entering into a brave new world that I am so excited to see ushered in. And I really do believe that this video for Lil Nas X is sort of like the tipping point for me where I am like, we have gotten to this point. It has taken us way too long to get to this point, but we are at this point, and I could not be happier. I mean, I'm just imagining myself like 10 years ago. Keep in mind, I'm not a black man. There are elements to this that I cannot appreciate for the level of visibility that it is giving that I can relate to, that I can appreciate in the same way. But being, a gay man who's always kind of longed to see more masculine presenting men play with gender, play with femininity, play with expressing themselves in a creative way in the visual media, just making visuals that I actually find interesting to begin with. The bar for male visuals and performance has always been so horrendously low. I mean, I've talked about this. Beyonce has to go above and beyond to create, gobsmacking visuals with like over the top costuming, wearing a bazillion different outfits in one video, and the locations and the choreography and everything is just so to the T artistically laid out. And then men, straight men, they can wear a t-shirt and jeans and they can sort of just lean up against a statue or they can lean up against a car and sort of just sing with sunglasses on and get millions and millions of views, get all of the accolade, get even the freaking Grammy Awards. I'm looking at you, Ed Sheeran. They can take it all in and not put in an ounce of effort when it comes to the performance, when it comes to the actual art of the performance, when it comes to the art of visual storytelling, when it comes to costuming, when it comes to the look. And it's gay or straight. It should not be allowed that, men can let the bar slide so low, straight men let the bar go so low. I never understood that. And it's one of the reasons why I don't vibe with male-driven media, because the performances, the music videos are always boring as anything. When is the last time a male music video been exciting to watch? I mean, it's really, if it is, it's not because they're focusing themselves in it. It's because they're, using other people, which is great. They're spotlighting other people in their videos, but it's just something that, as someone who's always kind of secretly dreamed of being a performer and being in music videos, but not necessarily always envisioned myself as being a woman in those music videos, centering myself and doing the choreography, seeing Lil Nas X take the reins like this and just really serve it is just in a feminine way, doing what Lady Gaga was doing 10 years ago. It really it just warmed my soul. It just warmed my cold, cold heart. And it has me really, really excited for, the generations of queer youth today, particularly queer Black youth today, seeing a video like that, getting #1 on trending, the most views ever, and getting so much applause and radio play and being just this big thing that everyone knows about and normalizing that. Because, don't get me wrong, there are going to be people that hate it. There are always going to be haters. There are always going to be people who, are going to try and come for you and cancel you. Lil Nas X, I'm sure, is fully prepared to deal with that and not let it diminish him. And that's always going to be important. But I think it's important to look at the broader perspective. And I'm very interested to see over the coming weeks as this song becomes more and more, because I do hope that it stays as a big hit. I really, really hope that this becomes another Old Town Road, where it's like not only the song is played all the time, but it's memeified, and that it's just within pop culture's framework and consciousness for a huge part of 2021. I really would hate to see this song, completely drop out of the charts after a week. And unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen because, like I said, there were elements about Old Town Road that played so much to straight America, particularly straight white America, being that he was with a country star, that it was a very traditional masculine country music video with hip hop. It was combining two very masculine worlds together, making it somewhat fun for children. You are placating to the lowest common denominator of masculinity here in this country, and no wonder that's going to be elevated and promoted by all brands. No one is going to not like that. There's no one who is going to feel like, I mean, me personally, I won't like it, but like we're such a small subset, you know, the queer feminine youth we're such a small subset of mass culture, even though gay culture does run pop media. We all know this. But unfortunately, if you look at the whole, it's important to remember that gay culture does have its real finger on the pop music landscape, but at the same time, we don't. Because if you look at the top 10 on iTunes on any given day, if you look at the fact that, what's his face? Who is that? Morgan Wallen, that really problematic racist country singer who it got exposed saying the N-word, and then guess what? His sales went up. His song went even higher in the charts. What should have completely canceled him by, you know, a lot of white America who loves listening to country music, bro country, no, they are the ones who keep their needle on a lot of what's popular in today's music. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, they have horrendous taste. Lowest common denominator, white masculine America has the worst taste in music imaginable. I will die on that hill. I am sorry. They just do. Especially in the modern era. It wasn't always so much that case in the past, but in the modern era, 100%, 100%. Look at what straight masculine men are listening to. Yeah. Now, I mean, it's a whole complex thing, but I really feel like I said, the conversation that is being opened up here, and this is why I just needed to infuse about it for a half an hour, because I'm so excited. I mean, the fact that he is blending masculinity with femininity in such a brilliant way. I mean, let's talk about the visuals a little more specifically here. Obviously, you know he's wanting to push biblical people's buttons. Why not? The thing with, you know, people are like, oh, why did he have to be that provocative? You know, he's already wearing wigs and women's clothing, and, you know, he is just going overboard with it. And I'm like, no, in fact, he probably should go overboard with it, because he is already going to get persecuted for wearing women's clothing, for just doing what he's doing in the music video. So you might as well run all the way with it, because it's a lose-lose situation when it comes to them. They will always have something. The Candace Owens of the world will always have something to say about men dressing up in dresses. And if you don't know that whole discourse with Harry Styles, like how, you know, Candace Owens, she's this, oh boy, she is setting the Black movement backwards so horrendously, the feminist movement backwards so horrendously. It's a tragedy what Candace Owens is. It's a real tragedy. But along with so many other, you know, problematic white people, Candace is just extra disappointing because she's a Black woman and she should know better. But we already know how much a man wearing women's clothing literally melts the minds of these conservative alt-right people. We know that already. I mean, they consider it the decay of the moral fabric of society. They consider drag queens to be Satan. I don't want to eschew their horrendous viewpoints, but I'm just saying that he was already treading such a thin line with them. So like him twerking on Satan's lap, might as well go all the way there, because it's ironic and cheeky, and it's pointing a finger directly at them. It's making them melt. And it's seeing them freak out is honestly at this point pretty entertaining, because like we said, I think there's a comfortable momentum on the good side that is going to support him, that I don't think we have to be too worried about what they are going to say. That being said, they still have a huge thumb and needle on pop culture, which is why I'm very, very interested to see what, you know, brands co-opt Lil Nas X's song, what, you know, media is going to be promoting him and this song. What's the chart life going to be like for this song compared to Old Town Road? You've got, just like I said, an artist who is presenting into the feminine and to the masculine worlds, and it's just going to be the straight and the gay world, and it's going to be really interesting to see who receives it better, in terms of, or if they both receive the same level of acclaim and applause, because people like him. I hope this song does really well. I hope that it's the song of the summer, and I really am excited for his upcoming album. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I could just dive so deeply into the discourse around gender identity in this country and in relation to race, and I could dive all into that, but there are people who have really like done the research and the work and written beautifully about all of this, and how it all ties into the taking down of white supremacist capitalist patriarchs. You know, to quote Bell Hooks there, because I always bring it back to her. But this is all an important step for liberation for everyone, not just Black people. Um, and Lil Nas X is just not to diminish what other people are doing in the queer space or in the Black space, but this is a really monumental thing, and I'm so happy to have witnessed it. At least I wasn't sure how old I was going to be when I finally got to see something like this. So now, as far as the video itself, like I said, I get the whole idea of the pole dancing to hell kind of trope. And the fact that he plays every single character, like I said, it's a level of artistry that so many male artists would never put in the effort for. Would never put in the effort for. Now, I will say this, if there's one bit of criticism that I will level at this music video, I have seen some people talk about this. For those who are not familiar with a also very famous Black artist who has been breaking the mold and doing incredible things in alternative sphere, FKA Twigs, a British artist, her music video for Cellophane, one of the best music videos that I have ever seen. I mean, seriously, the epitome of high art in a music video. There are a lot of similarities between this video and Call Me By Your Name. There are some instances where the shots are a little too eerily similar. You cannot obviously, you know, doubt the fact that he has clearly seen that music video and is clearly paying homage to it. The question is it homage or is it plagiarism? Now that's, again, not something I'm going to really weigh in on too heavily, besides the fact that I believe that it's just homage. I mean, FKA Twigs doesn't own the act of pole dancing. There is so many, you know, conceptually, like the pole dancing down from heaven, like that imagery was used in that video. But I'm sure that there have been other artists who have at some point played with that idea, maybe not mainstream, but like in the indie scene. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, like I said, it's a really great idea, and I feel like he brings enough to it, changing it up, that I don't necessarily feel that uncomfortable, like, oh, he's clearly plagiarizing that video. If anything, I love seeing people make videos like Cellophane. Like, if people are going to plagiarize, you might as well go to the top tier kind of video making, the form of that, and for that art form. Now, that's being said, like you said, you do need to make it different and not be too similar, and that's where it's like, it's murky territory. The thing that does make it a bit unfortunate is that I believe at the 2020 Grammy Awards, Lil Nas X and FKA Twigs were both up for Video of the Year. It was the one kind of like nod the Grammys were giving to FKA Twigs that year, which was a shame they didn't give her more accolades for her music, but at least the music video of Cellophane was getting a nomination. And then Lil Nas X won over her. So he stole that award from her, and now he's copying her music video. But like I said, I'm parroting what some people are saying. I'm not necessarily saying there's any malicious intent, whether it was done on purpose or not. Even if I don't really even care, I'm sure FKA Twigs sees the video and is just like, yeah, I see the inspiration, but rock on, you know? I'm sure she's totally cool with it. And I think she's just happy to see, like I said, I mean, the million reasons why I think anyone who is in the alternative Black space would be enthralled to see a pop star like Lil Nas X just go in that direction. I mean, you couldn't be more happy about it. So I don't think that she's going to have any issue with it. And if she doesn't have an issue with it, then we shouldn't either. But like I said, I mean, it's kind of a coincidence, but it's unfortunate that like that is part of it. You know, she kind of deserved that bag, and he sort of took it for a video that I definitely don't believe deserved to win over the Cellophane video. Now, if this video was nominated, that would be a different story. But, you know, like I said, anyway, so I hope this video gets nominated at the Grammys. That'll be interesting to see in 2022. But yeah, I guess I just needed to point that out. But all in all, Lil Nas X did that, and he is coming to serve. He is coming to smash heteronormative masculine gender roles, and he is here, and he is queer, and he is Black, and he is masculine, and he is feminine. He is everything in between, just like I think so many of us who, whether we're identifying as non-binary or not in the queer community, feel a lot of the time like we just want to do away with gender entirely. That's so liberating to see what he is doing with that video. You know, it's just so, so liberating. Not to mention, he is fine as hell. And for like I said, the Black queer youth of today, I can't even imagine how important this is. And also for the old queer in general and queer people in general, monumental, monumental. So yeah, that's what I have to say there. What are your thoughts? What was your reaction to the music video? Do you like the song? You know, I might not necessarily be covering because, like I said, it's still kind of hip hop music, and I don't really vibe into that. But you know, he's definitely playing with like a lot of different genres with his music, like definitely some country elements, some like Latin Spanish guitar stuff. You know, like he's all over the place, which I like, and I do like hip hop sometimes. So I definitely am excited to see what his debut album is. He says it's coming this summer, and it'll be self-titled Montero. Very excited for that. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Stay fab, stay queer, stay beautiful. I'll see you all in my next video. Peace, love, and light. Bye.